What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? You are on the sidelines with the Sideline guys. And today, I am joined once again for a spectacular MMA edition of the show. It's been a while, right? So, some might even have forgotten we've done this. But by some miracle, my guy Sean Negron has graced us with his presence. Sean, how are you doing, my brother?
I'm good, man. Happy holidays, happy New Year to you and everybody that watches and contributes to this show. It's been a very interesting 2024, and I very much look forward to 2025 with everything going on for us both, and also just in the UFC in general and MMA. Very, very excited for what the future holds, man. It's gonna be a very fun year.
Hell yeah, there's always a lot to look forward to. And there's this place I know of, right? They've got a lot of things to look forward to. And that is OTS Media Co. You could follow the brand at all social media platforms, OTS Media Co. OTS Media on YouTube. So make sure you're following the brand first and foremost, but also you could follow me at Negron MMA on Twitter as well as TikTok, Chris Negron _ on Instagram. Sean, why don't you let the people know where they can find you in 2025? Because I know it's harder to locate you between all of the being banned federally going on.
Yes, of course. Being banned off Twitter for no reason. You can find me at bsreports.org. My website's down on the bottom. Actually, I'm actually going to change that. My email's down at the bottom, and you can find me there. And if you ever want to get started in the sports industry world, writing world, anything you want, you give me a shout, and I'll help you get started.
You heard the man. He is the Bang Bros of the sports journalism industry. So just hit the
Wow.
man up and he will get your name listed on a van quickly, ladies and gentlemen. But with all the pleasantries out of the way, it's only right that we've refocused to why we're here, God damn it. And it is a year in review. 2024 was an amazing year for MMA and, of course, for this UFC recap show. So it's only right that we look back at what we did in 2024, what our dynasty fighters did for us in 2024, and then, of course, hand out some awards, right? Some hardware to the hardworking fighters and what they did for the year. But let's start off with our 2024 standings recap. There's four different categories that we are keeping track of as we do this show year in and year out. And they are currently as follows. We have the 2024, that is entirely last year, head to head pick'ems. That's where Sean and I pick all of these fights. And of course, there has to be one winner. And this year, this season, that was Sean finishing with 346 wins, 166 losses, four no contests, bringing him to a percentage total of 67.44 win percentage. My 2024 was not all that bad, but it wasn't good enough. I finished with 334 wins, 178 losses, four no contests, which brought me to a win percentage total for the head to head at 65 and 12%. So, yes, another year where you have won head to head, 2 years back to back. So, naturally, the second category, it's easy to guess who's ahead in this one. We got head to head totals, right? This is pick'ems over the 2 years we've been doing this show. And currently, Sean is just out here whipping my ass, right? Took me out to the shed, let me pick the goddamn switch, and he's just going to town. He got 483 wins, 241 losses, and three draws, eight no contests, which brings him to a total of a 66.46% win percentage. My total's not bad at all, right? If you ask me, I was around 64%. I'll be excited. I got 466 wins, 257 losses, three draws, bringing me to a win percentage of 64.24, eight no contests as well. So, all right. I'm just getting my ass whipped out here, but it's okay because that clearly you got the edge when it comes to the pick'ems for 2 seasons in a row. We could swallow those L's. But now this is a L I'm not excited about, right? This was a category that I won last season and I unfortunately lost this season. It is our Dynasty head-to-head pick'ems. Well, head-to-head, however you want to put it. Uh, our Dynasty performance. How about that? Sean finished
There
the
you go.
season at 148 wins, 90 losses, with 3 no contests, bringing him to a win percentage of 63. No, excuse me, 62.03. While I finished 2024 in my Dynasty standings, 148 wins, 95 losses, and 3 no contests. Kind of hurt me that my guys were a little more active than yours because we got the same amount of wins. I just had a little bit more losses, bringing my win percentage to 60.77. And now, finally, in my opinion, the only stat that matters, because it's the only stat that I'm coming out on top in, God damn it. Hey, losers got to win someday. So I'll take my dub. We got our Dynasty totals starting back from when we began. And I'm on top with 195 wins, 117 losses, 2 draws, and 4 no contests, bringing my record win percentage to 62.26. While Sean finished with 194 wins, look at neck and neck once again, 120 losses. You get your ratio up a little bit, and then you got 1 no contest. No, excuse me, 1 draw and 3 no contests, bringing your dynasty total to 61.64%. So very close, all things considered. Unlike everything else, Sean, I gotta say, this has not been a very positive year for me, right? To see these regressions in Dynasty, to have to witness you having anything over me does something to me, lights a fuel, a rage within that I have to contain. So I gotta ask, how do you feel about your performance in 2024 and what do you attribute it to? Because god damn it, you got it. You got 2024 was your year.
I will say it was definitely a year I needed. Right, I felt even though I did win in the pick'ems going in 2023, I felt like I needed to make a move in Dynasty, and Dynasty definitely helped out. And you know what? It was a hell of a fight all the way to the end. You were one good card away, one bad card for me away from taking it from me. So, that final card, that fight night in Tampa really was like the what sealed it for me, and getting that win. But it was a hell of a fight. We definitely brought out all the competitive energy we needed to in each other and pause. But I think I love that it wasn't a landslide. Like even there were times where I took like a pretty steep lead, and somehow, like within 2 weeks straight, you'd cut it in half, and like you were literally on my tail the whole time. So I loved it. It was an awesome year, and I got to try and continue to do it again. That's what Dynasty is all about. Is you draft all these guys. We made 2 different rule changes going into this entire year. We went from 4 fighters to 2, then 2 to 1. For fight nights, and so now, with all these guys now on the roster and slim pickings for the remainder of Dynasty, that's where either it's going to work out great for me or it's going to work out great for you. So, this is only the beginning. That's what Dynasty is all about, is picking these guys before they be going to their prime, or grabbing the last ounce of their prime, hoping they still have something before it definitely comes back to bite you. So it was an incredible year for me, and I can't wait for 2025.
Yes, sir. We got a lot to look forward to in 2025. Awesome year. Couldn't have said it better myself. There was a lot of times where honestly I just couldn't believe how consistent you were when it came to the fucking head-to-head pick'ems. Like Dynasty in some ways, right? We pick the fighters and then the matchups and everything, it's all out of our control, right? But it's in our control every week to go out there and pick who the hell we think we're gonna win. And goddamn, bro, you really changed the way I look at shit sometimes. Where I'm like, yeah, I can't even make this play that I want to make because I gotta fucking catch up to this guy. So hopefully in 2025, stick to my guns a little and figure this thing out. We got to right the ship here because we can't give them 3 years in a row. If it's 3 years in a row, then at that point, is it even a rivalry, right? Like I got to consider these things. So I got to step my shit up in the pick'ems. But Dynasty, listen, I'm a little greedy, right? I had my share of the wins early on in that first year. I felt like that was my category to dominate. And now I'm seeing that slip away too, bro. So who knows? This time next year, 2025, I'm hoping not, but shit, I might just be ready to end it all, right? I might be down 4-0 on my own goddamn show, right? So who knows? But
Swept.
yeah, hopefully that's not where I find myself in a year. But it's only right we finish the year off with some stats, goddamn it, because I like diving deep into
That's
our
right.
dynasty teams. And I found this very fascinating because I
Hmm.
don't understand how it works out this way. But I have a current active roster of 149 fighters, four of which, no, so those are the active fighters. So then I have four more fighters that were cut from the UFC. So those fighters are as follows. So these fighters, just to be clear, for the purpose of Dynasty, they are still on our team until or if we decide to cut them. Now, here's the deal with fighters that are not in the UFC. There is no penalty for rostering a fighter that is not in the UFC. If they were to return into the UFC, obviously those fights subsequently would go towards our dynasty record and it would resume as if they were still on your squad, right? So there's no real negative to having them there, but I think it's cool to kind of look at, right? Because I only got four of them, right? I got Talia Santos, who obviously got let go and has since went 3-1 in the PFL this season. And then the three rest of the fighters I had that got cut this year too. So that was Jake Hadley, who went 1-2 in 2024 before getting cut. Robelis de Spain, who went 1-2 before he got cut. And then Mateus Nicolau, who went 0-2. You, on the other hand, currently have 141 active fighters on your roster and 6 fighters who have been cut from the UFC. And I'm not gonna lie, looking back at these, bro, you kind of got some raw deals, right? Muhammad Mokayev, 2-0 before getting cut from the UFC, which is hilarious. Nate Maness, 1-0 before getting cut from the UFC for not being exciting enough, which to
Nope.
this day was one of the most biggest bullshit of a reason I've ever heard, because the dude has always been nothing but nails every time he goes out there to fight. So craziness. These more understandable. Emile Ducote, who went 0-1 and is now 1-0 in Invicta. Kanan Khrushchevsky, who went 0-1 before getting cut. Mateus Mendonca, who went 0-1 before getting cut. And then you had Jack Shore, who went 0-2 before retiring from MMA this year. So interesting to take a little look. I currently have many more fighters than you that are still on the roster, which you could look at as a good or a bad thing, right? After crunching the numbers, I ended up deciding that the proper number for both of us, right, is 5 mandatory cuts. So no matter what, once we're done here with this dynasty management, we're going to have to cut 5 fighters. But we have the option to cut up to 10 fighters total.
Beautiful.
So that is the cutoff list for you, Sean. I'm going to start rummaging through, but before we get to the negative, I thought we start a little bit on the positive side. There were some standout fighters that I think deserve to get recognition for my squad and for Sean's squad, as far as just really bringing it home for the team, right? For my 2024 Dynasty shoutouts, I got to start with Carlos Prates and, of course, Joaquin Buckley. They both finished the season 4-0 for me, bringing home some big wins down the stretch against some really good fighters as well in Joaquin Buckley's case. So shout out to those guys. I also had these following guys who went 3-0 as well. I've got Alex Pereira, Diego Lopez, Jillian Robertson, Ludovic Klein, Miranda Maverick, Nassourdine Imavov, Oban Elliott, and Yusuf Zalal. And then finally, I thought this one was okay to include as well. Shout out my guy, Joshua Van, who went 3-1 this season as well. And now it's only right I go on to the negative side of things for me, right? Because your list is going to be a little bit longer, but I had shorter, I should say. I had a long list of motherfuckers that went 0-2 for me this year, so I got to give y'all the lowlights too, right? Alexander Rakic went 0-2. Benoit Saint Denis, who I traded for, went 0-2. Charalampos Gregorio went 0-2. Darius Flowers, Drew Dober, Jonathan Pierce, Josh Kulabau, Marlon Vera, Myra Bueno Silva, Muhammad Usman, RDA, and then finally Ricky Simon Vato. Now, to highlight some guys on Sean's squad that did well for him and performed well, it's only right we start with Charles Johnson, who went 4-0 in 2024. And then, of course, Sean, why don't you highlight these guys? What the fuck? You got me over here. I can't even breathe anymore, God damn it.
Well, I got to give you credit because you put this entire list together. So if you didn't do this, I wouldn't even know how good, each individual fighter went. So I give all the credit to Chris here because he went above and beyond for I think like 4 or 5 straight days getting this list put together on how each and every one of our dynasty guys did over the course of 2024. I cannot imagine having that much time to look up each individual fighter. But dude, I give you all the credit in the world, man. This was awesome. But yes, Charles Johnson, 4-0. Obviously, I don't think anyone had that on the bingo card going into 2024 that he would be my best fighter. Andre Lima, which was a shock as well. This is why he does this to me, because he knows I can't pronounce any of these fighters' names. So it's all about just getting me to embarrass myself, and I get it. It's because I beat him both things this year, so now he needs a victory. And so when he needs a victory, he's just gonna try to embarrass me. So Asu Almabayev, I'm good. 3-0, Sean Woodson, which is one of my favorite picks I've ever had. I've always been a fan of Sean Woodson, and I feel like turned the corner since the end of 2023. He went 3-0. Gene Silva 3-0. Freaking comeback, one of the comeback fighters of the year. And Renato Moicano 3-0. Up and comer Bullet, Shara Bullet 3-0. Pantoja 2-0. Chase Hooper, Bogdan Guskov. There was a lot of guys that really helped me out with. I didn't have that many 3-0 fighters, but I had I would say a big chunk of 2-0 fighters that really helped, take me over the top with, even Duplessis coming in, getting the championship early in 2024, defending it against a former champ, Hall of Famer in Israel, Adesanya, Ilia Topuria. Like I went after these championship names, and I think these guys being able to defend their belts, I think were the beginning of the end for you on me retaining my title for this year. One of my favorite people I've ever drafted to is Movsar. Even though that fight was close in his last fight against Aljamain, I still think he's still one of my favorite fighters that I can't wait to see, even though he'll probably lose in the title fight. But I am still a big fan of that. My favorite fighter of all time, John Jones, of course, 1-0 champion. And then the worst part of it was.
Before you go to the bad, I gotta also shout out my guy Themba Garimbo, who went 3-1 for
3
you
and
as
1.
well.
I see that now here. Yes, Dembo with the 3-1. He almost had a chance at 4-0 if he didn't freaking get absolutely clipped by Luque just a month ago.
Another one of your fighters as well. Just Sean on Sean violence. Yeah.
Yes, and that's kind of how it goes. I feel like I had probably more than you this year, where I had dynasty fighters fighting one another. And we definitely had more this year of our dynasty guys facing each other than we did the year before. I think we had. I think what was one of the records we had where I think we had like 3 or 4 straight fights of our dynasty guys going up against one another. So it was a really fun year. Like it almost feels like every card now has at least 3 or 4 of our fighters either fighting one another or just going up against, and it just makes each and every card that much more interesting heading into it. It's not just about the pick'ems. It's not just about who we draft. It's about, who has what already and how are they looking? Because when you draft these guys, like, all right, I like their future, but then all of a sudden you see the person they're up against and you're like, shit, Chris has him because he thinks that person's future is good. And you almost get to see so fast. Like, it's not like how it was back then. You get to see it so fast how up and coming prospects just go right after each other. And, the UFC likes to work at finding who is a real prospect and who's kind of like a big name prospect, but not there yet and getting exposed quickly. So, yes, I think it's been a very, very fun year with it coming to the prospects, but also I felt like this year was a big year of seeing a lot of Hall of Fame names, big names that I even have on my team that starting to maybe slip away. Someone like, who knows? I'm not trying to say Max Holloway's career is slipping away in any sort of aspect, but I do feel that he's definitely in a tough situation. Charles Oliveira, who knows which way that'll head? Volkanovski, how much he's turned the page in the wrong way. There's Colby Covington was once, a big name in the UFC. So that's why I was saying to you before how much dynasty means, because you could think for 1 second you have these guys in their prime, and then by the next year or by the end of that year you're looking back like, what the hell? I remember once when I drafted Brendan Allen, thinking he was on his way to being there for a title, and then he's starting to slip away a little bit. So it definitely is a lot of fun. Sorry if you hear the train, but
Choo choo, motherfucker.
choo choo. But that's why I love it. It's Demba was great. I loved what Demba brought for me. 3-1. I can't hate on that, especially being 3-0 all the way till the end. Even in the loss, it didn't really affect me too much because I had already won Dynasty. But I still like what Demba brings for the UFC in his career and what he can bring to me in Dynasty. Yes, we talked about who's no longer in the UFC. I think the one that hurts most is probably Mokaev. But I understand from the UFC side, he was a
He'll be
little out
back.
of his mind. Yeah, he'll definitely be back. And I like what UFC is doing. He talked a lot. He started that whole thing with Manel Kape, that whole big feud. They had freaking 35 security guards in there, and then when they actually fought, they like barely touched each other. So if that wasn't the ultimate like stamping like point of like, yeah, no, we're good, then I don't know what is. So good luck to him. We'll see him again when he gets more mature. But worst part of the year, Armin Petrosian, 0-2. That sucked. Having Johnny Walker when in 2023 Johnny Walker was starting to just turn the corner. I was starting to feel like maybe he's got something. That sucked. Having Tai Tuivasa, fan favorite, just absolutely fell apart this year and last. James fucking Yon Top, I don't give a fuck.
The
That's
best,
the worst.
the
That's
worst
the
performing
worst
fighter of the year. Shout out to
by
James
far.
on top.
By far, that's the worst pick I've ever had. I think I even picked him first overall in the draft that in that card. That's the worst pick I've ever had. I promise you, he'll be up there for who I drop in this in the cuts, because that was one of the worst I've ever had. But you know what? I think honestly, what disappoints me most is fucking Tatiana Suarez not getting a fight out of her this year.
Mm-hmm.
I was really, really trying to see um, the next step from her after being out for so long with the injuries. And I really wanted to see her take that next step, and now she gets a title shot. But like I'm more worried about it now, especially in Dynasty, because she's been out for so long. I don't know which Tatiana's showing up.
Hmm.
So as excited as I am for her, I really liked seeing her, continue to rise since the injuries, and now that she's back on the injury prone, regimen. It's like that's what was most disappointing. And the other one I would say is Vitor Petrino. That one was really disappointing. I really thought Vitor was going to take the next step going into 2024. Obviously, I knew the gas tank was a problem, but he had the build to really be something. He had a lot to his game that kept him good on the ground, but also as a stand-up striker. And I just felt like he was, like I always say, an 8-minute fighter, because you get to the end of the second round, you're really starting to see the arms fall down and the heavy breathing, and how slow a fight it ends up becoming. So having him go 1-2 was definitely very, very disappointing, and he's definitely up there on my list of potential cuts that I'm considering.
And speaking of, I think it's only right. I've got a couple of them already ready to rock. I think I may even be done. But um, let's just
This
hop
guy
right
did it
into it, right?
already.
Fuck it. I'm just gonna go. Because I think these are the only guys that I actually do want to cut. So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet.
Wow.
I only have 6 people that I'm gonna be cutting this season, and they are as
Hmm.
follows. We've got Darius Flowers. Fuck you. This was one of those people that I definitely picked like with the last pick. I like begrudgingly. So feels good to never see you again. Josh Fremd, someone who I think may even still end up winning a lot of fights in the UFC, but I think he ends up being sort of a 500 fighter, and honestly, I need more than that at this stage. So Josh Fremd, see you later. Next up, I got Jonathan Pierce off of the squad. I'm sorry, man. Not going to be able to do it, JSP. Not after you are calling Joe Anderson Brito boy and then just absolutely getting submitted seconds after. Yeah, not going to be able to do it. Next up, RDA, my brother. I love you. You're a legend of the sport. But I can't have you getting laid out by guys like Jeff Neal on the squad. I'm sorry, you can't do it. That was a head-to-head that burned me. All right, so
Yes.
might have been the difference in Dynasty. So shout out. Next up, Muhammad Usman. Right, I thought it ran in the
Ah.
genes. Clearly, it did not. We'll see you next time. And then our final one, betting on Team Sarah Longo. I thought it would work out, but Shara Lampos Gregorio, you're dead to me. And there goes my dynasty cuts for 2025.
So that's six cuts, man. I'm proud of you. You usually go with the minimum, and we only had what we had to do 3 as a minimum last year, with 6 like at the most, or 4, whatever we did.
Hmm.
And now we have to do 5 with a max of 10.
Yep.
This is beautiful. This is exactly what I was hoping to hear. All right. If everyone who knows me, you guys know I'm gonna take my time.
Yep. We're gonna be here a while.
All right, so James Lontop is done. He's gonna be first on my list. I'm gonna get rid of a lot of names that I think are in trouble. I'm gonna start off there. It's tough because there's a lot of people I want to cut, but there's a couple that I want to also consider. Second is gonna be Colby Covington, right off the rip.
Wow, look at that.
Um,
A,
that
n- a
that that
name going into 2024, you would not have expected that, but
Yep. I said, because I only took him in the last. He was literally, in baseball terms, a rental. I took him for the last card, and same thing with Dominic Reyes. He's cut too.
wow,
I don't
Dominic
care. He went two
Reyes.
and 0. It gets to a point where you got to know when it's time to let him go. Same thing
Wow.
with Paul Craig.
So
I'm
wait,
letting
wait, wait,
Paul
real
Craig
quick.
go.
Who was the first guy you let go? Because I didn't get to write him down before Colby.
James Lontop.
Oh yeah, okay, okay, perfect. Continue. Sorry.
Yep. So there's 4. Uh, this is tough. This is a tough one for me because he's such a fan favorite, but I feel like I have to now with Tai Tuivasa.
Wow, look at that.
Um,
How the
there's a lot of
mighty
big
have fallen.
names. A lot of big names are going here.
Yep.
What is that? 4 or 5?
Yep, five total.
Let me think here. I'm gonna go to 10.
I'm sure you will.
I want to get rid of everybody. There's so many people.
For real though.
I think what I'm gonna end up doing too is where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Robert Breachcheck, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yep, Brycock.
Yep.
Right?
Whatever the fuck. He's done. I'm done with him.
Robert. Former first overall pick in a card where we picked 4 fighters as well. I got to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it. I've had some bad drafts, because honestly, it goes down to I will literally just go with I have a feeling, and then like even though there's certain guys I know that you'll pick, and then I could pick whatever 3rd and 4, or whatever 4 and 5, I'll still be like if I take him now, he'll take him later. So and I sometimes just draft just to fuck you, like honestly,
Hey,
just. No pause. I will literally do it just to make sure you can't get him.
yeah, shout out Felipe Lima. Every time I see him on your squad, I get so mad because you literally were like, I didn't even know this guy was good. So you know what? You just went hard, giving him props.
Right.
You know what? Fuck it, I'll pick him. And bro, on my face, I was like, I hate this motherfucker. Like I legitimately hate you. But it's a very good strategy. So shout out.
Yeah, that's honestly what I do it for. It's just to kind of mess you up, and that sometimes is the best strategy. Is especially when you're drafting 1st or 2nd, you got to know what strategy you're coming in with. All right.
So you're at 6.
Yes.
Got 4 left potentially if you're going with all of them.
Yep. Just want to see this guy's last fight. I think I'm about to cut him. How the fuck do I spell his name? Loner.
There's no way you're gonna fucking cut him.
I don't think so, but he's definitely up my list.
I don't know how.
Because I'm confused. I'm confused why you have it with Loner. Where the fuck did he just go? I had him.
He's 1-0.
Hey, you have him at 1-1.
Oh.
See how you're messing me up?
Sometimes the math doesn't math, Wait, is he 1-1? I don't know.
He's 8-0 as a fighter, so.
Yeah, it can't be 1-0.
That's why I was like, wait, who is he lost to? I have to check this. Because I'm like, I don't think I can keep him.
Make you work for once,
All right, why don't you relax? All right. Next, this is.
Got 4 left, brother.
I know, and I'm trying to keep it to bigger names here. You know what? I like getting rid of these former fighters. And I hope when you edit this that you just put this on like 2 times speed, and you can put like that funny music in the background.
Music for you. Yeah.
That or like something funny because of how long I take. But I'm gonna go with Jamie Malarkey. He's gonna definitely drop.
I did not expect you to pick him in the first place, so that's a good one.
Yes. Did I throw him in there already? Oh, I'm about to.
Got 3 left, my man.
Oh, don't worry. Where is he? There's so many people with this name. The one and only. I just don't believe in the future of this man, so give me Johnny Walker.
Wow. Yep, that's a sad one. 2 left.
Yep. I would drop this guy if he didn't have a good fight in his last one. I would have dropped Luque. But I have to believe something's there.
Definitely saved himself in that one.
It's tough. definitely it gets harder now.
Yep. You don't have to drop 10. I'm just saying.
Oh no, I'm dropping 10. 10 gotta go. Give me whatever, Josian Nunez. You're done.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yep. That's definitely gotta go.
Got one left.
No way. I got 9 already?
Yep, 9.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Show me. I can't see.
I'm editing the same doc, bro. You have the same doc as me.
But I
Go
only
open
see
it.
up to Robert on my screen.
Okay, yeah, my bad. So you have Robert, Jamie Malarkey, Johnny Walker, and Josiana Nunez, bringing you to 9 total.
Oh, okay. And there's one more I think I have to cut, but I'm just checking my list one final time here. This person I want to cut, but I think his career is on the end. So
It's almost like, why even waste the cut, right?
I know that's honestly what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking. So I think with my last one, it's going to be. Man, it's just a tough one because I don't know whether he or she will turn it around. I just don't think they will.
This is amazing radio, by the way, for all those.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. Oh, this I want to drop. I want to drop 3 people right now. I have to choose who I hate more.
Yeah, good luck.
Man. Hold on. Can I take a fighter back?
Sure. Yeah, it's not too late.
All right. There is somebody here that I think I have to do it. One. Okay, so get rid of Ty. I think they'll give Ty a victory somewhere because he's a fan favorite. They'll throw Ty somebody to win. He'll probably only fight once or twice this year, even though he's on a 5-fight.
So you're taking Ty back.
Yep, taking Ty back. Put Dan Argueta on there.
Wow, look at that. Dan Argueta rounds out your 10.
Well,
you know what?
Now. That's 9 now.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
And
no, wait, I have 10 here. So I got James Lontop, Colby Covington, Paul Craig, Dominic Reyes, Robert Brysek, Jamie Malarkey, Johnny Walker, Josiana Nunez, and Dan Argueta. You're right. That's 9. Go ahead.
This guy's the worst.
Sorry, I had Johnny Walker
he
twice.
was so excited to get
out
of this
it's
segment.
because it's because I said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's get this bloodline off of Dynasty. I'm also cutting Walter Walker. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, see, I just helped you out.
Get that bloodline off the fucking roster. How about that?
Yeah. And then to round it out, there's 2 people I want to cut, but I gotta
pick one.
I gotta pick one. And you know what? I'm taking one person back.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm taking Colby back out because he's only gonna fight once a year. He's probably got like 1 fight left.
That's a bold move, Cotton.
I know it's not what I want, but I'm taking Colby out, and I'm adding Arman Petrosian and Lupita Godinez. I was trying to keep the Mexican out of it, but I can't.
There's no way you're dropping Loopy.
I don't like
That's
Loopy.
Crazy.
She doesn't have it.
That's not true, bro. You was singing her praises for so
many
years.
I was, but you know what? And you know what? She might win again because she's dropped after losing to Virna and McKenzie. But it just shows that even if she wins, I think she's reached her peak.
She's done too much damage to you already at this point. That's
it's not like she's 32. I'm good.
All right,
Arman, so I'm done with.
That brings our totals to as follows. Dynasty roster cuts. I've got Charalampos Gregorio, Josh Fremd, Darius Flowers, JSP, Jonathan Pierce, RDA, Rafael Dos Anjos, Muhammad Usman and Walter Walker getting all the brothers out of the squad. We'll see you guys in February. For Sean's cuts, we've got James Lontop, Armin Petrosian, Paul Craig, Dominic Reyes, Robert Brysek, Jamie Malarkey, Johnny Walker, Josiana Nunez, Dan Argueta, and the sad Mexican Lupita Godinez. Now, to look back at last year's Dynasty drops, hilarious. Both you and I drafted someone that we dropped in 2023 back to our team. Now,
That's
for
right.
me, I dropped Mick Parkin, and then I was like, actually, I'll take you back, brother. So
That's
Mick
right.
Parkin's back with me. For you, it was Zach Reese. You drafted
Zach
him,
Reese. That's
lost
right.
two, dropped him, and now he won two for you this year. So I know you're happy with that decision as well. And then the one steal from last season, Sean dropped Tabitha
Tabitha
Ricci, and
Ricci.
I
Yep.
picked her up, which got me some big wins this year. So
Yeah, that hurt.
something to look out for these roster cuts for next season. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we get into our year-end awards for
Let's go.
2025, and we get to start with the category that, of course, is very prestigious. Fighter of the year, Sean. I'm going to let you take the reins on this one. Who is your 2024 fighter of the year?
Honestly, I think people think this is like so one-sided, but there's two fighters that you can really give this to. I'm gonna go with Alex Pereira having 3 title defenses so fast. Um, I have to give it to him, but you know, I would not be mad either with Ilya knocking out two legendary names in that weight class in Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, knocking them out. That kind of like passed the torch for real on that division, on a division that seemed so closed off, changing hands. It's been Aldo to Holloway to Volkanovski for over a decade of the 3 champions and staying that way. And now you got Ilya here, and you know what? I might have even given it to Ilya, but I'm a little confused on what Ilya's next move is. So it should not have anything to do with it, but I do think that because also Alex Pereira is getting up there in age, I think he's turned 38 this year. I think a lot of fighters are gonna miss Alex Pereira a lot because he's been so amazing and he's clearly the fan favorite to everybody. But being 38 still is a little bit of time left in the fight game, especially at a heavyweight, light heavyweight division. But it happens so fast where your prime is there today and it's gone tomorrow. So I think I got to give my flowers to Alex Pereira here, and I think he's going to take the crown for fighter of the year.
You love to see that. Shout out to Alex Pereira. I'll give you one honorable mention before I give you mine, and that is Joaquin Buckley. I think what he
Oh
has
yeah,
done last year
absolutely.
deserves to be acknowledged, beating Vicente Luque, following that up with Stephen Thompson, and then getting Colby on the mantle at the end of the year, too. Just a phenomenal rise through the welterweight division, and honestly, something I did not expect. So, shout out to him for getting that done. But my fighter of the year is someone that you just stole all my fucking thunder with, is Ilya Topuria. I think, yes, it's only 2 fights, but those 2 fights and what he accomplished, knocking out 2 all-time greats in Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway, it's only right we give it to Ilya. And this is someone whose rise I've been up on since the very beginning, Sean. You cannot deny this. Since the very beginning, man, I was like, this guy is something special. And that was before he was even known for being a striker in the UFC. So he's come such a long way in his career. And honestly, no matter what he does next, if there's anything I learned is to not count that man out because he could do some crazy fucking things. But next up, our second award of the night, and this one I get to go first. We got our fight of the year. This one wasn't as easy as it typically is. I think usually I have an easy time picking this one. A lot of different nominees, 2 of them on the same night. And the one I'm picking is also from that night as well. That night was Noche UFC in the Sphere. So my runner up, my honorable mention, was the absolute primal war between Mick Debek Orabai and
Fuck.
Mateos Rebecki. Insane back and forth caveman style brawl. That's my honorable mention, but it pales in comparison to my fight of the year for 2024. Came right after that insane fight. We got Daniel Zellhuber
Yep.
versus Esteban Ribavix. Esteban Ribavix quietly put himself in contention this season as well, this year as well, getting that head kick knockout over Terrence McKinney and then following it up with this insane war against Daniel Zellhuber. A fight that you watch. If you ever want to instill in somebody what it means to have championship grit, to have no quit in you. That's what this fight was, man. There was multiple times where either guy landed fight ending shots and there was no thought, right? There was no checking for the exit valves. It was all gas to the fucking floor. Let's find out who's going to die first. And just so happened that night, nobody died. So insane fucking war. I give it to Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribavix.
Yeah, that was where I was going to. That was an incredible fight, um, an incredible moment. It just perfectly encapsulated what the Sphere was made for. People argued on that card of that should have been like the big names along with that card. There was a lot of fans arguing this year over cards and who should have been put on what card with 300 and 306 here. But that fight, Daniel Zellhuber and Esteban Ribavix was fucking incredible. That was I think I was watching. I don't know if I texted you or called you in that moment, and I was like,
Weren't we
dude,
together watching this?
were we together for 300 or
Yeah, no,
306?
yeah. It
Maybe.
wasn't
See, I don't even
306. Yeah,
remember
yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, it was
Yeah,
306. Noche Yossi. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we
I
were. It was
remember
me. It was me.
literally
Yeah, we were in
making
the house.
sure to be like, dude, that's fight of the year. That was incredible fight. Especially the oral buy fight was just having those two that close in that event set up the main card so well, especially with what they were doing, the promotion, Mexican Independence Day, and the history, especially me being Mexican. Like just bringing that all to the forefront on the greatest spectacle arena I think anyone's have ever seen. Um, I don't think anyone can see that fight again in anywhere and think how perfect of a fight that was at an event that was in. So um, incredible fight. I loved every second of it, and that has to be fight of the year. I would say my third has to be Dan Hooker versus Gamrot.
It's a good
That
one.
comeback and how like Dan Hooker rewinded the clock and just in a fight that it almost seemed like Gamrot was absolutely gonna win, and then Dan Hooker was just just unbelievable. I felt like it was Dan Hooker from 5 years ago and fighting Dustin Poirier.
Hmm.
So an incredible fight.
You just reminded me of this one too. I don't know why I didn't even think of this one at all, but Renato Moicano and Jalen Turner as well. UFC 300. Fucking
See, that one
insane
I would have
comeback.
put if it wasn't for Jalen Turner giving letting him come back to doing that like that pretend or whatever
Walk
walk
off.
off thing. Like what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And I would have given it to him, but yeah, I'm definitely with you. Those three fights right there were absolutely incredible this year.
All right. Well, since you went and you just copied my homework, it's only right that you get to lead us in the dance with knockout of the year. So, Sean, what is your 2024 knockout of the year?
How could it not be? How could it not be? Fucking Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje, UFC 300. It literally took the air out of the building. That it almost felt like nobody cared about about the main event, even though they did, obviously, with Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. It's just that moment right at the buzzer. People had Justin Gaethje winning that fight, and just seeing the onslaught of Max Holloway's performance the entire fight was incredible. And then just to literally close that chapter, coming up in weight again to fight at lightweight and knocking Justin Gaethje out cold, which so many lightweights before him have never been able to really do. An incredible moment. I don't think I've ever seen Justin Gaethje go to sleep ever. I've seen him wobble to the point of losing fights, but that was one of the cleanest endings to a fight I've ever seen, especially when it's literally right at the buzzer. Max Holloway, I think, took the biggest moment of the UFC over the last couple years in that one punch, and he has to win it.
I love that. I love that a lot. I got two fights for my honorable mentions. The first one is honestly might just not be my number one just because how much it hurt me. Right. This one is Ilya Taporia getting the knockout over Max Holloway most recently. What an absolute war. What a tactical matchup where you see both guys making adjustments, right? Countering the counters to each other's game plans, and eventually it ended up with Ilya catching them and then swarming them to finish Max Holloway, the first man to finish him as well. What a shocking knockout! So got to give that one an honorable mention. And then my second honorable mention, the biggest issue about this one is the stakes, right? The stakes wasn't there for this one except for your dynasty team. So it's a little harder to put it up there, but as far as the quality of the visual aspect of this knockout, it deserves to be mentioned. That is Shara Magomedov over Armin Petrosian, that double spinning back fist KO. One of the first, I would say probably the first time I've ever seen that, right? Where you go double spin in the opposite direction and catch him on the second time. So that is my second honorable mention. But of course, the award can only go to one, and it is the same one that you've got, Max Holloway over Justin Gaethje. What a moment in a fight where I bet Holloway straight up, right? So I'm fucking so hype in that last round, and then to get that on top of it, just an amazing moment, right? One of those moments that you just fucking lose your mind as a fan because there's no way you could have saw that coming. One of my favorite clips from this year was Luke Thomas's live reaction to that fight, where you see him get all hype when they're pointing to the ground, and he's like a little kid watching, like, oh shit, and then he gets knocked out, and then you see him, oh shit, just losing his fucking mind, because that's it. That was exactly all of us. So the ultimate fight fans moment of the year for sure. So got to give my knockout of the year to Max Holloway over Justin Gaethje. Next up, we've got submission of the year. This one was fun. This one was actually a little bit tougher to come up with because there was some really cool, interesting ones throughout the entirety of the year. A lot of guys deserve to be in the combo for this one, but there's only one, right? I'm not even going to give you guys an honorable mention. Actually, I'll give you two honorable mentions. My first one happened very recently, so this might be recency bias, but Chase Hooper's armbar finish against Clay Guida. What a fucking move from that fishhook position. Something that he was talking about. He learned very recently from the wizard of BJJ himself, Mikey Mushameshi, right? The pizza man, whatever the fuck you want to call him. But love to see that beautiful armbar there. And then my second honorable mention goes to the man himself, Brian Ortega, and what he was able to accomplish against Yair Rodriguez with a insane comeback arm triangle choke off to the side, right? Something you don't typically see. This one might have won it for me most years. I think you're going to be very shocked when you hear who I picked, but the award can only go to one. And my submission of the year for 2024 goes to Paddy Pimblett in his triangle submission win over Bobby King Green. Damn.
Yeah,
What I
that's
love
tough.
about that, what I love about that finish the most is just how fluid it was, right? How slick, where you see him first get that leg over the top and then lock up the other leg in transition, right? Just super fluid with how quick he was able to go from being in a position to defending the takedown and then being in the submission. Like the fluidity and the timing on that was just absolutely perfect. So even a broke clock is right twice a day. Paddy Pimblett gets my submission of the year.
Yeah, you know what? That was one of the fights I was looking at. There's 4 fights that for me was really tough. I based it off of the moment it had for either that fighter or just in the UFC for this year. I think you did it more of like how they got the submission, and I based it off of more of like the moment of the submission. So to start it out, for me, one of my favorite submissions of the year is Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Incredible moment for Pimblett. People doubted him. It was kind of like the as the train goes by again. It's kind of the moment he had when he fought Tony Ferguson. Everyone felt it was kind of a lose-lose. He got into the rankings beating Bobby Green, but if he lost, it hurt him more knowing because Bobby Green felt like he was heading towards the outskirts of his career, and it was an incredible moment for him. One of my absolute favorite submissions, which just happened recently, with Pantoja submitting Kai Asakura. I picked Pantoja to win, but I felt like that was such a statement for the flyweight division and how good Pantoja really is. Coming in, taking on this kid who comes over, gets an immediate title fight, built up in this hype, gets, is the main event of the last card of the year, and Pantoja just absolutely dominated him from the start. And to finish it off by submitting Kai, I felt like was such a significant moment. Another one for a fighter who came in brand new this year at UFC 300, Kayla Harrison. I think Kayla Harrison's submission on Holly Holm was an absolute moment for her coming in, dropping down, making that cut for weight, and taking on a legendary name of Holly Holm, which you know how I feel about Holly Holm, and just absolutely taking control of her for the 7 minutes of that fight. Just absolute domination, and just showed that she was levels above someone who almost fought for a title not too long ago. And it just creates a really interesting dynamic, almost like a triangle of what this division is heading towards in 2025. And Kayla Harrison potentially even getting an interim title shot if the champion's no longer ready to go in Pena. So, having that moment was huge. Another one for me is, and this one I've literally been dancing with this for the entire day on who I want to give this award to. Because for this one, I'm gonna put this as an honorable mention, and it's Hamzat Shemaev's neck crank on Robert Whittaker. For Shemaev to come back against Robert Whittaker, who was so desperate to try to get a title shot now that Adesanya was out of the picture. He had what he felt was one victory away from getting his rematch with Driscus, and he just had to face someone in Hamzat who has struggled to get into the octagon with health issues and personal problems and visa issues and new camp issues. He's definitely had a lot. He's been sick. We've seen this dude, and I felt like going into that camp, it was the most humble he had ever been. He looked different. He was calmer. I found out he had a son. Didn't know that. It's just, and his son is dealing with medical issues, and he just looked so controlled. Like he knew he was there to get a job done, and that usually you see him crazy out of his mind, talking crazy, and then backing it up. This one he was humbled, and he was just like, I like Robert, but I have to take his head off, and it almost felt like he did. Got him in that face crank, freaking dislocated his jaw. You saw Whitaker's teeth all over, like in his mouth. It was nasty, 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 nasty submission. So that one for me almost took first place. Obviously, the one with Islam on Dustin was an incredible moment for Islam to continue to defend, especially that leg pull into the submission was really cool. But my number one for me is the submission on Driscus Duplessis on Israel Adesanya. That one for me felt like the absolute passing of the torch of, a legend, handing it off to what is now a new champion and a new regime in this weight class and for what the UFC now holds. When Sean Strickland took it from him, from Adesanya, you kind of felt like you knew that was going to be run back soon. Adesanya was going to win it, and then we'd be back to this dance. Adesanya, I think, put everything he had in the 2 fights against Alex Pereira. He got the second victory. Just to lose to Sean, everyone was kind of shocked by that. And, for Driscus to take it from Sean in a very close fight, I picked Driscus to win, but I thought that it was going to be an absolute war. And, to see Adesanya come back to get an immediate title shot. And I felt like in that fight, Driscus was a better fighter. There were moments where Adesanya looked like he was taking control and starting to gain a lead going into the 3rd and 4th round. But, with Adesanya pointed to the mat, and Driscus just absolutely took him down and just finished him off with the rear naked choke. In that moment, I knew that, it was the passing of the torch. That Adesanya's prime was most likely over. The champion of, 11 straight title fights, whatever it was in the past. And whatever was next for Adesanya, retirement or not, I've seen an incredible career. And now it's Driscus' turn. Obviously he's facing Sean next, which will be an incredible fight. But, for Adesanya to have a main event that's non-title, it's going to be a weird feeling. It was like when Silva officially lost it and now was just headlining main events on fight nights. You were kind of weirded out by it in the first couple fights. So I'm very, very excited for it. I think Driscus takes it because of the moment and crazy, incredible moment for that division. And I'll say that's my submission of the year.
I love it. Next up, I just got to say the stakes were there. Great win. That should not be submission of the year. But I'll let you rock. I'll let you rock, my boy. I'll let you rock. I'll let you have this one. But goddamn, what a moment and a way, like you said, to really stamp himself as the now and the future of that middleweight division. But next up, we got to go into our performance of the year. Now, this one was a little tough and a little hard because once again, it all comes down to you know, how you categorize this different award to your own standards. And I think for me, although I talk a lot of shit about this person, I think ultimately to come back and have the kind of complete performance that they did, I think it was worthy of this award. And I give it to John Jones over Stipe Miocic. Now, obviously, this is a hot take because hold on. You talk so much shit about this fight and the fact that it happened. Yes, I agree. It was annoying. Yes, I agree. It probably should not have happened. But every iteration of how I imagined that fight could have went, it was just complete domination for John Jones. And I did not expect it to be that easy. The way I can't get that fucking trip out of my mind, right? That trip in round 2 after he already toyed with them in round 1 and really had him just I don't know how he didn't cut him up with the elbows he landed on the ground in round 1, but then in round 2 to just get absolutely thrown like it was fucking nothing, bro. That shit is so crazy to watch, man. It's so skillful, and then to finish him off with that spinning back kick, right? To just have the full arsenal, right? To beat somebody up on the ground like that, and then pick them apart on the feet, land that kind of devastating fight to finish. Just a super complete performance, right? And that's what you got to do for performance of the year.
I still think I'd be in the hospital if I took that kick from John Jones. I think I'd still be there trying to find a way to breathe every day. I have no idea how you take a kick like that. I mean, watching that live, I was with Dalian watching that fight, and then shout out to him. We both did this, like it hurt us because that kick was so clean, so nasty. But yeah, hell of a performance by John Jones. For me, I got to give it to Max. I do. Absolute clean, 5 rounds of absolutely dominating Justin Gaethje in a fight. Everyone picked Justin Gaethje to win, really. I think 75 or 85% picked Justin Gaethje to win. You didn't know if Max Holloway could be the same guy going back up to lightweight. Justin Gaethje, I give all the credit in the world to, didn't need to fight. He could have waited for Islam and had his title fight. He chose to take it to, be whatever co-main event on the one of the most historic nights ever in UFC history, and then it completely went the opposite way for him. Max Holloway showed out, looked like he turned back the clock in his career and showed, even though Max is still super young, that like maybe lightweight is his division, and he's had two incredible fights at lightweight against Gaethje and against Poirier. So, that one for me has to win. It was 25 straight minutes of domination from Max Holloway and closed it off with one of the best knockouts of all time.
It's a really good pick, man. It was one that I shied away from just because it's already gotten a lot of hardware and it's going to be up there in a lot of these discussions, but I can't be mad at that. That was a fucking phenomenal performance. But when someone it's obvious on the scorecards, it was 4-1, right? It makes you quite it was around there, but anyway, it's okay. It's okay. We move on to our comeback fighter of the year. This one is another one that we can have fun with, right? How we're going to decide to make the different distinctions. For me on this one, this is my hipster pick, right? This is the hipster award. I'm calling it right now. Whatever I'm going to say is going to be controversial, but I don't care. My comeback fighter of the year for 2024 is Yusuf Zalal. What did he come back from, ladies and gentlemen? Being cut from the UFC and then coming back looking like an absolute shoe-in to fight for the title at some point down the line. Sucks that Ilia Topuria is moving up from featherweight because I really wanted to see that rematch. I think that's a fight that we deserve to see again, and one that I still can't believe not a lot of people know about. So please, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch Ilia Topuria versus Yusuf Zalal. I remember watching that fight and being like, yo, this is one of the most high level fights I've ever watched, period. And these are two guys, one of them that was not even in the top 15 at the time in Ilia Topuria, and the other one ended up getting cut right after in Yusuf Zalal. So insane to look back and think back how far he's come to have a huge year like he did in MMA this year, finishing 3-0. Shout out my guy, Yusuf Zalal.
Yeah, for me, this is it's between two fighters, honestly. You mentioned one of them before. It's it's tough for me because it depends on how you look at comeback fighter. For me, I was gonna pick Buckley because of the two losses in 2022, especially late in 2022. You kind of felt like, you know, what is next for him? And then he only fought once in 2023, beating Andre Fialho, whatever the fuck, returning to welterweight though. And then in 2024, four straight victories against, you know, four guys on the come up in welterweight, and absolutely shows that he is now uh, a real threat now in this division. And I don't think anybody had that thought going into it in the beginning of 2024. So it depends on how you look at comeback, because he did have the technical 2 wins in 2023. He's on a 6-fight win streak. I don't know if you can consider that a comeback, but then I would give the other one to Moicano. Coming back from injury for basically 2 years and coming back, beating Drew Dober, and then, the UFC 300. That was like the last fight announced on UFC 300. It was like thrown in, and Jalen Turner gave him a reason to keep fighting, and gave him the reason to continue that fight. It felt like Jalen Turner had him. But the comeback, like you said, just to win that fight by TKO and amazing fashion, and then going, 5 months later to Paris, France, to beat Benoit Saint Denis in BSD's home, and by doctor stoppage, and an incredible fight by Moicano. Another one I thought BSD would win. I
That
think
we
I've
called.
picked against Moicano 3 or 4 times straight.
I called that though. You remember, right?
You did. You did
Just
100%.
gotta say it.
So he absolutely flipped it for me. And I for me, that's my uh comeback fighter of the year because I think looking at it from an injury standpoint, he talked so much on his little whatever. I don't even know if he's on Twitch or whatever the hell he's on, but and you almost were like, yeah, yeah, sure, dude. We haven't seen you in 2 years, and then just having this type of comeback and these two amazing events at UFC 300 and in Paris, France against BSD. I can't wait to see what's next for him. I still think he's a fight away from a potential title fight, but he's really one great performance away from really turning heads and seeing what's at the top of the division for him.
You love to hear it. Our final award before we look ahead to 2025. We got to do that rapid fire though. We've been here long enough. But our event of the year. This is a fun one, a little category to look back at the quality of the year. And I'm sorry, this is a boring one because there's only one answer, right? There's so many good cards this year, but there is only one UFC 300. The insane, amazing fight card. A fight card that you look back at and it may not look like it had the star power, quote unquote, but when you look at what it offered from top to bottom, there's no argument as far as high level MMA that was the peak that we got all year, and it ended up turning out with some crazy violent finishes as well. A lot of honorable mentions on this one. Funny enough, call it recency bias. That UFC Tampa card was fucking fire. Like I think that deserves to be in the conversation with the way that one ended out with some violent, insane knockout of the years in that one as well. So shout out to that event. But my 2024 event of the year is UFC 300.
Yeah, it's got to be. I think even the UFC 306 at the Sphere was good. Obviously, it had two fight of the year contenders, but if you look at UFC 300 and the card it was just from the beginning, you know, uh, every single fight was incredible. I think we've talked about three or four fights already, just narrowing it down on the other superlatives that we've given out. I think that one has to be Armand versus Charles was a great fight. Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Zhang Wei Li versus Yan. That one was like probably up there for one or two women's fight of the year. That was a really great fight. Obviously, everyone loves the moment between Alex Pereira and Jamal Hill. The whole pause and then punching him in the face, knocking him out. But yeah, there was so many. Kayla Harrison submitting Holly Holm, which we mentioned before. Diego Lopez and Sadiq Youssef with incredible moment in the first minute. Moicano, Jalen Turner. Yeah, a lot of great fights from the very very beginning. That one has to be my pick as well.
You love to see some agreement on the show because it's not often we agree. But with the ending of every beautiful night begins the start of a beautiful morning. And it's only right after looking back at 2024 that we look forward to 2025, rapid fire style. We start at the top at the heavyweight division. Sean, who will be the reigning heavyweight champion of the world come December 31st, 2025?
Tough man, tough. I'll say John Jones, but I have no idea if he will be retired by the end. If he ends up getting that fight, whenever, if he gets the fight, I know it's supposed to do this rapid fire, but if Tom Aspinall gets that fight with him early in 2025, then I'll say Tom Aspinall in a vacant fight.
Hmm.
But I think John Jones has Tom Aspinall in front of him, and then a fight with Alex Pereira, giving Alex Pereira a chance at two division championship. But by then, I think even by December, I think John Jones will be out of here. So I guess Tom Aspinall. But if they really let this go on, I think John Jones will be.
So, what is your pick? John
John
Jones?
Jones. John Jones.
John Jones. You know what I call that? No stones. Because I'm going with Tom Aspinall, ladies and gentlemen. Because even if John Jones sits, whoa, even if John Jones sits on his ass and doesn't do anything, and is still the undisputed champ, and Tom Aspinall goes out here and defends that interim belt, in my eyes, he's the champ anyway, right? So that's all that matters. My eyes, god damn it. But I'm picking Tom Aspinall here. I think even if he gets the matchup, he wins that fight, which is my hot take. Next up, we go 2025 light heavyweight division. This one is tough, right? There's a lot of different angles we can go, a lot of different people we could choose from. Obviously, it's a little strange when you got a reigning champ, right? It makes you feel like everything else is a little out of reach as far as the rest of the contenders. I'm, as you could tell, I'm buying time here because I think this one is a little bit tougher than people give it credit. Ultimately, though, when it comes to the light heavyweight title, I think at the end of the year, the champion is going to be Magomed Ankalaev. I think ultimately he is the one that's going to get the job done. Even though I talk to you all the time about how I would pick him against, I would pick him to lose to Alex Pereira. I think ultimately at some point, Alex Pereira might end up vacating and retiring before the end of the year. So somebody's got to have that belt. In that head-to-head matchup, gun to my head, I'm probably picking Alex Pereira, but I think Magomed Ankalaev ends up the champion by the end of the year, by hook or by crook, god damn it. So I know that's a little bit of a weird one, but give me Magomed Ankalaev.
I'm pissed because that's exactly who I have as well. Um, I have Ankalaev taking it only because, like I was mentioning before, I don't know who Pereira's fighting next. I don't know if they've announced that yet, but I know it's not him. It's not Ankalaev. And then I think after that, they'll have him wait for John Jones' big double champ fight thing just to give John Jones what he wants. Because John Jones doesn't want the Tom Aspinall fight. I think they're gonna do you do this for me, I'll do this for you fight.
Hey yo.
And I think after that, Alex Pereira will really be exposed by how good and how much bigger John Jones will be, and Magomed will come in his title fight. I think Pereira, if Pereira really does fight 3 times again in a year, um, it'll be Magomed will beat Pereira via submission. But I don't know. In the same token, I'm saying Magomed. That's my pick. But I do feel that the Pereira Magomed fight might leak into 2026.
Yeah. It's all fair. I wouldn't be surprised with how active he was this year if he takes it back a step in 2025. It's much deserved, if you ask me. But next up, we go to middleweight. So, Sean, you get to go first in the division of kings. Who do you think will be the champion at middleweight?
Hamzat. I think it's finally time for Hamzat to take the crown um, that he's been desperately waiting for, and that his body, that whatever it is, has taken years off of his life from. I think Dricus for Sean, however it goes, Hamzat's waiting now, and when that fight does happen, I think Hamzat will know how important it is for that fight to happen. I think the only thing that stops Hamzat is himself and making championship weight. And if he can do that easily and cleanly, I think it's going to be a rough road for Sean or Dricus. And it'll be a very tough fight for both of them. But I also don't know if Hamzat will be a champion for long. But to end the year, I think Hamzat will be a champion.
And just like that, we go back to back divisions where we're in agreement because I am with you on this one as well. Although I think Drickus can give him a run for his money and surprise us all, I do agree that I think this is Hamzat's year. And who knows, he might even end up vying to be a double champ at some point in the recent future. But we shall see. Time will tell. We move on to the 2025 welterweight champion. And this one is very difficult, right? There's a lot of different names you could actually put into consideration here, but I'm going to go with a dark horse. I'm going to go with someone who is not even in the top 3 right now. Give me Jack Della Maddalena to be the 2025 welterweight champion. I think it's going to take 2 fights, and it's going to take 2 basically a number 1 contender fight and then a insane title fight, probably against Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's going to be the difference maker here. But I know it's a lot for him to end up in this position, right? I think it'll be a lot safer to pick someone like Shavkat or like Bilal, but I think Jack Della Maddalena finds his way to that strap in 2025.
All right, I'm going with something even more of a darker horse here. the darkest horse of all time. Not that dark, but I think Bilal beats Shafkat, and then Islam versus Bilal, and Islam is the champion at the end of 2025, double champ. So I do think Islam's been waiting for this moment. And you hear him in all of the interviews that he's so tired of the rematches. He's so tired of facing the same names. And he's really wanted for so long to face the welterweight champ and try to be a two division. And I know Bilal's his friend, but I don't think anything's going to stop him from trying to get it. If Bilal's there, Shavkat, Kamaru, Leon, whatever. And I do think Islam is going to be there, and I think Islam will beat Bilal Muhammad if those two ever were to cross.
Wow. Wow, you went real dark horse there. Not even in the division. You love to see that one. I won't be surprised if they give him that opportunity, though. Next up, we move on to the lightweight division, the one that he just spoke so highly of, the champion. And I'm gonna agree. I think this one's easy. Give me
Yeah.
Islam Makhachev.
Yes. Yeah. So let me ask you though, real quick.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that of people in the top 7, I don't know if you're looking at it, in the top 7 in that weight class, do you think we get 3 or more retirements?
Wow. Yeah, I won't be surprised. Hell yeah, there's a lot of old dudes in that top 15. But it's weird though, because you could argue there's guys down to top 35 that are better than the guys in the top 15. Like this
Absolutely.
division is insane, and the fact that Paddy Pimblett is ranked 13th is laughable, if you ask me.
Yes. It's going to be a major turnover by 2026 this time.
Yeah, certainly. But next up, we move on to the featherweight division. Sean, you get to lead the dance in a division that I'm sure it has a lot of moving parts, right? With the champion all openly saying that they intend to move up to lightweight. So we got a champion that potentially is vacating his belt. A lot of different ways this cookie could crumble.
It's tough because I don't know. There's so many moving parts that I don't really know necessarily who's going where and what's happening next. So I'm assuming Max is done with the featherweight division, but I also think Ilya will probably do one more fight in a rematch against Volkanovski. I think the UFC are going to make it very clear to him that he's got to give Volk, the rematch. So I think that will happen. I don't know yet who I think will win that one. Probably Ilya, favorite. But at the moment, if I had to say the end of the year, give me Movsar. Right now, I think Movsar has a really great shot of going him versus Diego Lopez for a vacant title. And, it's going to be a very weird situation, but I think in that, as boring as Movsar can be at times, I think he has more than enough to become a champion. And I think it'll line up perfectly in time for him to be able to take a vacant belt from Diego.
You know what's the craziest shit? How little can is in reality a year is. It is not a huge amount of time.
Exactly.
And I think if you ask me who I think would win a featherweight tournament, I would agree with you. I think it's going to be Movsar Evloev. But if you ask me who I think is going to be the featherweight champion at 200 at the end of 2025, knowing what I know now, and if Ilya is right about him moving on from this division, I think there is a couple guys ahead of the queue in front of Movsar Evloev that will prevent him from being in this title position. So I think ultimately this is going to be a shocker as well. But give me Alexander Volkanovski to claim the title back in a fight against Diego Lopez, fan favorite at featherweight. I think that one is also going to be very close and could potentially go either way. But in that fight, I think Alexander Volkanovski comes out on top and proves that he is deserving of an Ilya rematch. But will he get it? That's the question. So I'm going to Alexander Volkanovski at featherweight.
I like it. I do. The only reason I didn't pick Volk was because if he were to lose to Ilya, I just didn't see timeline wise of him getting another, title fight again in that year. Basically losing, what would it be, 4 straight title fights? I almost felt like he wouldn't have the chance to get another one.
Hmm.
by the end of the year. So that's why I figured it'd be Lopez versus Movsar, who just beat Aljamain. So, but yeah, it could be 100% could be. It could be whatever the UFC decides.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if that we end up seeing a vacant title, it'll probably be Volk and Diego. But next up, we got the bantamweight division, the most stacked division in the UFC, if you ask me. And I am gonna shock a lot of people by what I say here because I know how much a lot of people highly rate the Dagestani contingent. But give me Merab Dvalishvili. I think he is a force to be reckoned with at bantamweight.
Yeah, I'm going Umar because I just think this fight is a little bit more personal for Marab than he's letting it off, and he's already showing his colors a little too much. I think Umar is ready to. He's beaten him off out of the octagon. I think he could beat him in, and then from there, I think these two will definitely have a incredible rivalry between these two. 3 or 4 fights, and it's going to be a really good rivalry for years to come.
Wow, you think he beats him in and out? I just hope he doesn't beat him off because then things will get real weird. Next up, we go to the 2025 Flyweight Champion at the end of the year. I'll take the reins because fuck it. You don't deserve it, Sean. After the year he had this year, it's hard to imagine him being able to pull it off for a whole nother year again. But there's one guy waiting in the looms that has done it before, that has came to this mountaintop once already. This guy's 2 fights away, but I think if he finds his way, it may even take the current champ losing to someone else and then getting that shot. But I think come the end of the year, the 2025 Flyweight Champion of the world is Brandon Moreno.
Dude, that warms my heart that you would say that. I still think it's Pantoja. I don't think Pantoja is going anywhere. But, with both Brandons kind of stuck as gatekeepers, I would love for Brandon Moreno to be champ, but I think it'll be Pantoja.
I like that. I like that analysis. Sean, we move on to the women's bantamweight division, your favorite division. So who do you got to be the champ?
I have to. This is tough because I really do think what they're talking about interim being potentially in there for Kayla Harrison. I think Kayla Harrison will be champ by the end of the year. I think she'll fight twice. I think that's exactly what she's going for. I don't know though whether if Kayla wins, whether she'll retire almost right there on the spot. But also we might have Amanda Nunez back for one final
Hmm.
fight because there is definitely not Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunez, but there is some uh, in camp issues that Kayla Harrison and Amanda Nunez had when they were at the same camp. Um, that Kayla Harrison has definitely spoken publicly about. So I think if Kayla Harrison were to beat Juliana Pena eventually, probably by the 6 month mark of the year, I think we could see Amanda Nunez by the end of the year, one fight and one fight only against Kayla Harrison in a hell of a fight for whoever champ is. And I think that one, I still think Kayla would win, but that would be an incredible fight. So right now, I'll say Kayla Harrison.
Shout out. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think if anyone's going to be champ in this division, it's going to be Kayla Harrison. But Amanda Nunes is the monkey in the monkey. What the fuck am I saying? The potential monkey wrench, whatever the fuck. You know what I'm talking about. You know the catchphrase I'm trying to use here. Next up, we move on to the women's flyweight division. This one was tough for me to imagine as well. I was thinking left and right which way I should go, whether or not we should stay with the dominant champ or look forward to the future of the division. There's a lot of different ways you could fucking skin this cat, but ultimately I'm going to pick as the flyweight champion at the end of 2025 to be Zhang Wei Li. I think after a dominant year defending her title against the biggest contender left at 115, I think they give her the opportunity to move up and she becomes a two-weight world champion in women's MMA. Give me Zhang Wei Li.
Wow, that's good. I would love to see that. I am on the fence because I don't know whether how good Shevchenko is still after a great trilogy with Grasso. Um, I honestly think that Aaron Blanchfield or Manon Fiorot will give her a run for her money. So I don't know who's next for Shevchenko, but I do think by the end of the year, I'm gonna say just to go out all out, give me Manon Fiorot as the champion at the end
Oh,
of the
look at
year.
that.
Yep.
I was gonna
Yeah,
go that way as well.
yeah, I'm gonna say her. I think an incredible division you have now, with 3 or 4 fighters right now. Even Natalia Silva's right there. I think there's a lot of great fighters coming, and you can't even forget about Alexa Grasso. She's gonna have to win and see a new champion get back in there. But that top 5 right now is as the probably the best it's been in a long time.
I love that. Now, our final weight class of the entirety of the UFC, women's strawweight. I already tipped my hand at who I'm going with here, but ultimately, I think Tatiana Suarez is not well rounded enough to be able to get the strap off of Zhang Wei Li. So give me Zhang Wei Li.
Yeah, I gotta go Zhang just because Tatiana's injury history is really a concern. If she were still fighting, like I said earlier in the show, consistently to the point where she deserved the title shot now, I probably would have given Suarez the benefit of the doubt and maybe even picked her. But being so injury prone all these years, coming back to injury, and then getting the immediate title fight against someone like Zhang Wei Li, I think it's hers, and I would not be surprised either if she gets a double champ status type fight because she deserves it, and she's a fucking killer. I would love to see that, but I also to end it, I would love to see Shang Wei Li versus Rose Namajunas again for the third fight.
Wow.
Now that Rose has beaten her twice, whatever Rose is doing with her career, I would love for her to finish it off. Pause in
Yeah, please.
strawweight or against flyweight against Zhang Wei Li, whatever Zhang Wei Li decides to do, that would be an amazing trilogy that I would love to see.
I love it, bro. And just like that, we got 2025 covered. Sean, this was a fucking blast. I can't believe we blinked and we're 1.5 hours later. Just an insane diatribe on the year that was and the year that is to come. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're following the brand. Make sure you're following us. We already gave you all the socials, all the different areas for you to flock to. But most importantly, thank you so much for spending the year with us, right? Every second of every minute that you guys watch have meant the world to us. And we continue to pour our hearts into this endeavor every year for you because of all the love you give back to us. So thank you so much for sticking with us and making us the best damn show we possibly could be. And we're going to continue to be that for you all in 2025. But with all the fun shit out the way, Sean, I'm coming for that ass in 2025. And just know there's no way you finish 3-1 next year because I'm at least bringing it down to 2-2. So gotta talk my shit. Nah, don't even fucking respond. We'll see ya all in 2025. Most importantly, for the UFC Hellscape card to come this weekend. You're gonna have a full breakdown on that one coming to you expeditiously. Funny enough, right? We were talking about looking ahead. I looked ahead to that card. I've got 2 Dynasty fighters fighting. Sean has 9 Dynasty fighters. No, excuse me. 7 Dynasty fighters fighting. So insane, disproportionate amounts there. But you know what's funny? You have 7 fighters fighting, but 4 of them are fighting each other. So you already have gone 2-2, and the night has not already started. So we got a lot to look forward to with 2025. This is the longest outro ever. We'll see you guys next fucking week, multiple times a week, all motherfucking week at OTS. Let's go. Peace.